Imagine a civilization so vast it spanned 3 continents, commanded by rulers whose names echoed through history like legends. But the question remains, how did the Persian Empire, one of the most powerful empires in history, rise to such greatness and then fall into obscurity? Today, we unveil the secrets of an empire that shaped the world as we know it. Before we dive into this extraordinary history, let's start with a curious fact. Did you know that the Persian Empire was the first to develop a postal system centuries before the likes of Rome or even modern-day countries? Now, how did such innovations come from an empire born in the rugged landscapes of what is now Iran? Stay tuned, because what we're about to reveal will leave you amazed. The Persian Empire didn't just appear overnight. It started humbly around 550 BC with a king named Cyrus the Great. But to truly appreciate the rise of Persia, we need to understand its roots. Cyrus the Great, the founder of the Persian Empire, was not just another king with ambitions for power. He was a visionary who understood how to unite different peoples under one banner. Born around 600 BC in a small Persian tribe, Cyrus quickly rose to prominence by overthrowing the neighboring Median Empire in 550 BC. This was the first step toward creating what would become the largest empire the world had seen up until that point. What set Cyrus apart from other conquerors was his approach to rule. Unlike many kings who would ruthlessly impose their own customs on conquered people, Cyrus allowed them to retain their traditions, religions, and even local rulers, as long as they pledged loyalty to him. This tolerance policy made him beloved by many across the empire. For example, after conquering Babylon in 539 BC, he famously freed the Jewish people from their captivity and allowed them to return to their homeland. This level of respect for other cultures was revolutionary for its time and laid the foundation for the long-lasting stability of the empire. Cyrus's military campaigns were nothing short of genius. His strategy wasn't about brute force alone. It was about outmaneuvering his enemies and winning the hearts of their people. By the time of his death in 530 BC, Cyrus had built an empire that stretched from the Aegean Sea in the west to the Indus River in the east. He had truly earned his title, the Great. If Cyrus laid the foundation of the Persian Empire, it was Darius I who built upon it and turned it into a well-oiled machine. Darius came to power around 522 BC, following a chaotic succession after Cyrus's death. Unlike his predecessors, Darius was less of a conqueror and more of an administrator. His genius lay in governance. One of his first actions as ruler was to divide the vast empire into provinces called satrapies. Each satrapy had its own governor, or satrap, who was responsible for managing local affairs. This system allowed for efficient governance across a massive territory. Darius also introduced standardized currency, making trade across the empire easier and more prosperous. With an eye for infrastructure, he ordered the construction of roads that connected the farthest reaches of his empire. The most famous of these was the Royal Road, which stretched over 1,600 miles from Susa in Persia to Sardis in modern-day Turkey. These roads not only allowed for quick military mobilization, but also for trade and communication to flourish. But perhaps one of Darius's most lasting achievements was the creation of a postal system. Messages could be relayed across the empire in a matter of days, thanks to the network of couriers stationed along these roads. It was said that neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night could stop these couriers, words that later became the unofficial motto of modern postal services. Under Darius, the Persian Empire reached its cultural and economic peak. The wealth that flowed into the empire allowed for the construction of grand cities like Persepolis, which became a symbol of Persian grandeur and power. No empire could rise to such heights without making powerful enemies, and for Persia, those enemies were the Greeks. The Persian Empire and the city-states of Greece clashed in a series of wars that would define the course of history. The Greco-Persian Wars began in 499 BC and were, at their core, a battle for control over the region. The conflict started when the Greek city-states in Asia Minor, under Persian control, rebelled against Darius I's rule. This revolt was supported by Athens, one of the major Greek powers, and it did not go unnoticed by Persia. In retaliation, Darius launched a full-scale invasion of Greece in 490 BC, leading to the famous Battle of Marathon. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the Greek forces, led by the Athenians, managed to defeat the Persian army, sending shockwaves throughout the empire. A decade later, Darius's son, Xerxes I, sought to avenge his father's defeat and launched another invasion of Greece. This campaign included the legendary Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC, where a small group of 300 Spartans, along with other Greek soldiers, made a heroic last stand against Xerxes' massive army. Though the Persians won this battle, they were eventually defeated in the naval Battle of Salamis and later at the Battle of Plataea, which marked the end of Persia's ambitions in Greece. These wars did not result in the destruction of the Persian Empire, but they significantly weakened its hold on the western parts of its empire. While the Greeks celebrated their victories, the Persians retreated to focus on their vast eastern territories. During the height of the Persian Empire, its rulers constructed one of the most magnificent cities the ancient world had ever seen, Persepolis. Located in modern-day Iran, this city became the ceremonial capital of the empire and a symbol of its immense wealth and power. Construction of Persepolis began under Darius I around 518 BC, but it was his successors, Xerxes and Artaxerxes, who expanded it into the grandiose city it became. Persepolis was designed to impress visitors and foreign dignitaries with its towering columns, intricate stone carvings, and massive palaces. The Apadana, or audience hall, was one of the most impressive structures, capable of holding thousands of people for royal ceremonies. What made Persepolis stand out was not just its architecture, but what it represented. This city was the heart of the empire, a place where the different peoples of Persia could come together under one banner. It symbolized the unity and diversity of the empire, which included people from Egypt, Babylon, India, and Greece, among many others. Unfortunately, Persepolis' grandeur also made it a target. When Alexander the Great invaded Persia in 330 BC, he famously burned the city to the ground, allegedly as an act of revenge for the Persian invasion of Greece. The destruction of Persepolis marked the beginning of the end for the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire, which had stood for over 2 centuries, eventually met its downfall at the hands of one of history's most famous conquerors, Alexander the Great. In 334 BC, at just 22 years old, Alexander began his invasion of Persia with a relatively small but highly trained army. The decisive battle came in 331 BC at Gaugamela, where Alexander's forces defeated the Persian army led by King Darius III. Though Darius attempted to flee and regroup, he was betrayed by his own men and killed. With Darius's death, Alexander became the undisputed ruler of the Persian Empire. However, Alexander's conquest wasn't just about military victory. He sought to merge Persian and Greek cultures, adopting Persian customs and even marrying a Persian princess. Yet despite his efforts to integrate the two worlds, the empire fractured after his death in 323 BC. Though the Persian Empire fell, its legacy endured. Persian art, architecture, and governance systems influenced countless civilizations, including the Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire. Even today, traces of Persian culture can be seen in modern Iran and beyond. The Persian Empire may have fallen, but its legacy lives on in ways we might not always recognize. From the postal system to the art of diplomacy, its influence remains. So, the next time you see an architectural marvel or send a simple letter, remember, you owe a part of that to the Empire of Persia.